The Amazing Monarch Butterfly by me, Kaya Conan. I have always loved butterflies. I think they're one of the most amazing creatures. They have such a level of grace and beauty that no other animal can compare, in my opinion. They are so intricate and beautiful. They just remind me of God's presence on the earth. And ever since I was little, I always wanted to do anything to be around them. I wanted to hold them, and I just loved seeing them flying around. Specifically, I've always had a huge connection with monarch butterflies. At my cabin, there's a milkweed patch, so in the summers we'd go and look for some monarch caterpillars. We would take about 2 to 4 caterpillars home with us every summer, and obviously I'd name them. I would have them crawl all over me, and I would watch as they ate their milkweed and grew, and then they would crawl up high on the milkweed and go into that J form, and then I would go to bed. I'd wake up and they'd be in the prettiest green chrysalis with that infamous gold zipper, and it just felt like magic. Then, of course, I would wait impatiently for the day the unveiling would come. It felt like forever sometimes, but that day finally came, and the chrysalis would start to shake, and then all of a sudden out came that beautiful butterfly with its crumpled wings just waiting to be ready to fly. Then once it was ready, I would let it go. I would let it go off of our deck, and one specific time I named it Cutie, and I said, "See the world, Cutie," and I think I was like 4 or 5, and so then I had to say that every single time. I said, "See the world," which is kind of poetic for a 4-year-old. Because of this strong connection I feel that I have with monarch butterflies, I decided it was time to be intentional about learning more about them. So that's what I'm doing in this project. For my research, I went to the Peggy Nordbert Nature Museum, where they have a butterfly haven, which was so beautiful, and I always loved looking at butterflies, so I had a great time. Sadly, they didn't have any live monarchs, but they had lots of information about them. I also watched a documentary and some shorter videos about monarchs, and then did a little research through articles as well. So now that I have all that information, I feel like I'm equipped to bring you through the Monarchs Journey. Monarchs Journey is magnificent, all the way to Mexico. Their wingspan is 10 centimeters, and they weigh only half a gram. Its flight to Mexico is equivalent to a person circling around the Earth 11 times. And what's crazy is no butterfly has made the migration before, and none of them will do it again. The journey begins with a little caterpillar hatching out of its egg. That caterpillar eats milkweed, which is poisonous to other animals, and it can eat up to 3,000 times its weight in milkweed. Then it spends 3 weeks in a chrysalis, and eventually is reborn as a monarch butterfly. Then, on the day when the sun reaches 52 degrees above the horizon, is the day that the monarch starts its travel. It starts navigating its way to Mexico, and the way that it does this is that monarchs have 2 internal clocks. The first internal clock is called a circannual clock. It keeps track of annual cycles, and it is what tells them to go south for the winter. Now their second internal clock is what helps them with navigation. It's basically like they have a solar compass in their head. The trick for them is they read the horizontal position of the sun, but to keep going the same direction, they have to know what time it is. And their antennas actually tell them what time it is, so they use that information from their eyes and the location of the sun to orient, which is crazy. When they're flying, they need the perfect temperature. If it's too cold, they get sleepy, and if it's too hot, they get sick. They have to fly 10 kilometers a day in order to get to Mexico. Soaring is key for them because when they're flying, they're burning 20 times more energy. They spend their days eating and flying and eating and flying for 60 days following the sun south. And if a monarch stops on its way for love, it won't reach Mexico. When they mate, they hold each other all night, and when they part, it's forever. The female will lay 400 eggs, and soon after, they will both die. If a butterfly makes it to Mexico, it will huddle together with thousands of others on fir trees. This is helpful because it creates a microclimate that protects them from getting too hot or too cold, and they will wait there for the winter to be over. Once the days start getting longer, the butterfly starts traveling back north to warmer areas such as Texas. Here they will mate and lay their eggs, and the whole process will repeat again. It will go 4 or 6 generations before the monarch butterfly reaches Canada. Sadly, we don't know if this migration will continue to happen. Monarchs' population has dropped significantly. In Mexico, where the overwinter and mate happens, they've seen numbers drop by 70%. And the western populations, which migrates from northern states and parts of Canada to California, is worse off, plunging by 99%. One of the biggest reasons there is a decline in monarch butterflies is from the disappearance of milkweed. Milkweed used to grow in and around agricultural crops. However, there has been an increase in removing milkweed from fields over the years. There's also been an increase in mowing along sides of roads and ditches, which is another area milkweed can grow, and where I found all the monarch caterpillars at my cabin. So obviously this reduces the amount of milkweed. Another major threat to monarchs is climate change. Monarch butterflies use the change in temperature and weather changes to know when it's time to migrate and reproduce. The change in climate affects the overwintering habits, how available milkweed is, and if it gets too hot or too cold, the monarchs could die. The monarch butterfly is considered the canary in the coal mine. Because of its relationship to the environmental pressure, the monarch butterfly's health indicates the health of the whole ecosystem, which I think clearly shows us that we have some work to do. But don't worry, there's still hope. This year, the butterflies arrived early, and with a preliminary tally on Thanksgiving this year, the count found more than 100,000 western monarchs and a stunning 4,900% increase from last year. This is very encouraging, but it does not mean a recovery. It just means that we have more time to work towards recovery and to move away from possible extinction. Another aspect of hope is the infrastructure bill signed by President Joe Biden in November. It included $10 million to fund pollinating plants along roads and highways. The Monarch Act was a part of this, and it would provide $125 million to save the western monarch. There are ways that individuals can help the monarch butterfly too. One of the best ways is to plant milkweed. Planting milkweed will help the monarchs lay their eggs and the caterpillars to eat. Another thing you can do is plant nectar-rich plants for the monarch butterflies to feed on. There are also specific organizations that keep track of monarch migration, milkweed growth, and caterpillars. Submitting sites will help the scientists get a better understanding to help the monarch butterflies. Lastly, you can raise awareness of the declining number of monarch butterflies, milkweed growth, and climate change. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world without monarch butterflies. This project has reignited my love for monarchs, and I will definitely be planting some milkweed this summer for my favorite insect. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my project on the amazing monarch butterfly.